You are sitting in your car. The ignition is off. The air conditioning is running, but your shirt is sticking to your back. Your hands are gripping the steering wheel so hard your knuckles ache, and there is a sickening, leaden knot sitting right at the base of your throat. You just spent the last 45 minutes telling a coworker you barely know the most humiliating, deeply painful details of your childhood. The conversation ended. They looked at you with a suffocating mix of pity and polite terror. Now you are alone in the parking lot, drowning in absolute humiliation. Why did you do that? You promised yourself you wouldn't. You swore you were going to be the mysterious, contained professional. Yet, the second there was a lull in the conversation, you just spilled your darkest secrets all over the dashboard. Society has a very convenient, highly judgmental label for what just happened. They call it trauma dumping. They say you have zero filter. They diagnose you with a toxic lack of boundaries and tell you to just read the room. But I want you to look at your physical reaction right now. The racing pulse, the nausea, the desperate urge to dissolve into the upholstery. That is not a personality flaw. Your nervous system does not care about social etiquette. It only cares about keeping you alive. Actually, wait. Before we talk about how to fix this, let's look at what your brain is really doing in that moment. We are all familiar with fight, flight, and freeze. But there is a fourth survival response introduced to the clinical lexicon by psychotherapist Pete Walker. It is called fawning. Psychology today defines fawning as a subconscious attempt to neutralize a perceived emotional or physical threat by abandoning your own needs to please and appease others. When you overshare, you are not actually trying to connect. You are fawning. The CPTSD Foundation links this fawn response directly to the Polyvagal Theory, developed by American neuroscientist Dr. Stephen Porges, which maps out how our bodies constantly scan environments for danger. When a miscalibrated nervous system detects a threat, like a slightly awkward silence with a manager or a new date shifting uncomfortably in their chair, it panics. It decides the only way to survive the encounter is to preemptively disarm them. But here's the catch. You hand over your deepest insecurities so they have no ammunition left to attack you with. You are subconsciously saying, "Look how broken I am. I am not a threat. Please do not hurt me." You are not lacking boundaries. You are manufacturing false safety. And we live in an ecosystem designed to exploit this exact biological glitch. The American Psychological Association states that roughly 70% of U.S. adults have experienced a traumatic event at least once, but the average out-of-pocket cost for a single therapy session in America ranges from $100 to over $200. Most people are completely priced out of actual, regulated healing. So what happens? You turn to your phone. You scroll TikTok late at night and absorb a barrage of viral therapy speak. Mental health advocate Nate Postlethwaite notes that survivors often overshare because they are desperate to be understood, usually without even realizing they are doing it. The internet tricks you into thinking that broadcasting your unhealed wounds to strangers is a form of empowered vulnerability. It gives you a cheap, dopamine-driven substitute for being seen, but it is entirely unregulated. LifeStance Health describes fawning as the please and appease survival mechanism. When you spill your guts to an acquaintance hoping for validation, you are just pleasing and appeasing a faceless audience. It is a digital bandage on a deep psychological wound. You are performing your pain to ensure you are not abandoned. Then you take this miswired survival tactic into the workplace. You are in a high-stress Zoom meeting with HR and your boss. You made a minor administrative error. A normal response would be to acknowledge the mistake, correct it, and move on. But your nervous system detects the slight shift in your manager's tone and registers it as a life-or-death predator threat. So you start talking. You over-explain. You bring up your recent anxiety flare-ups, your lack of sleep, your complicated family issues, hoping to generate empathy. It's almost like you're handing your boss all your vulnerabilities and begging them not to use them against you. It never works. You watch their faces on the grid go blank. Instead of seeing you as a human being who needs grace, management sees a liability. You violated professional boundaries. You alienated yourself in a cutthroat corporate environment because your body thought it was negotiating a hostage situation. You offered up your mental health struggles as a sacrifice to appease the authority figure, and all it did was make them question your competence. The damage to your professional reputation is already done. The exact same sabotage happens in modern dating. You match with someone on an app. You go out for drinks. Within 40 minutes, you are explaining your parents' bitter divorce and your history of toxic exes. You sip your drink and watch their eyes dart toward the exit, their body language closing off. Clinicians at Charlie Health point out that oversharing on a first date is a direct manifestation of the Fawn response. You are trying to fast-track safety. You think that if you lay all your cards on the table immediately, they cannot surprise you by leaving later. If they know exactly how damaged you are from minute one and they decide to stay, then you are finally safe from abandonment. But it is a trap. You have convinced yourself that overexposing your pain is how you build intimacy. Dr. Brené Brown, a research professor at the University of Houston, makes a razor-sharp distinction here. She states that the intention and outcome of true vulnerability is trust, intimacy, and connection. The outcome of oversharing is distrust, disconnection, and judgment. True intimacy requires mutual consent. It is built slowly over time, piece by piece. When you impulsively trauma dump, you are not being vulnerable. You are using your pain as a protective shield. You are holding the other person emotionally hostage so they cannot leave you. You are confusing forced intimacy with actual safety. Treatment centers like Mission Connection highlight this exact difference between opening up to a trusted partner and using your trauma as a preemptive strike. Understanding this difference is where the shame finally starts to break. This behavior is not a permanent defect in your character. It was a brilliant, tragic adaptation by a brain that was just trying to keep you alive in a room where you felt entirely powerless. But you are no longer in that room. The next time you feel that overwhelming urge to fill the silence with your deepest pain, I want you to notice the physical sensation. The tightening jaw, the shallow breath. Notice that your body is preparing for a war that is not happening. You do not have to fix it all at once. Just pause for 10 seconds. Let the silence be slightly uncomfortable. Do not offer up your deepest wounds just to prove you are harmless. You are safe now.